Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I want to talk about something from nothing. This has been something that has been fascinating me lately, I think over the past year. And maybe it's just another phase of sobriety. I don't know, but like bringing things into the world that didn't exist before. Yes, I did have 2 kids. We're just going to ignore that as part of this topic. But so it started with this fascination started when I grew zucchini last year. So I had picked up a zucchini plant from Home Depot and I planted it in a pot that I bought, and I just started watering it, and I had it on my back porch. And before I knew it, like one day I went out there and there was a big gigantic zucchini. Like I didn't even see it growing. I guess I've had issues with my eyes over the past. If you didn't know that, I've had issues with my eyes over the past 3 years. Anyway, I didn't see it until it was giganto. And I was amazed. I was simply amazed. And I brought it inside and I'm like, oh, we're gonna eat this. And I was just amazed that this thing did not exist. And then it did, and then I could consume it. I know I'm very simple-minded here sometimes. But maybe you could call me a late bloomer in the farming fascination. But this year, I'm growing herbs and wildflowers from seeds. And it's not that I haven't grown stuff my whole, like I used to live out in Charlestown, West Virginia, and I had a garden and I grew tomatoes and I actually grew some cauliflower unsuccessfully. It wanted to grow, but I did not take care of it. I was drinking back then. I didn't take care of it, water it as much as I should have. I also had broccoli. It would have grown had I watered it because it really seemed very hardy and wanted to, even without any care. But I did have lots of flowers out there. But for some reason, just maybe again, it's because I don't have a job now. And I need to probably stop saying that soon because I feel like this podcast is my job, even though I don't get paid for it. We're going to figure out how I can get paid for it, but I'm not quite sure how to do that quite yet. But anyway, so the wildflowers are out on my back deck here, and I decided to grow from seeds this year because I wasn't quite sure how much I was going to be able to garden this year because of my unpredictable health. And I think that this was the right thing to do because really I just water them. That's it. And then when I feel okay, I may go out there and cut off anything that might be dying or something like that. So the wildflowers are starting to bloom, and they're taking longer than I thought they were going to. I had no idea that it takes like 6 weeks or something like that. I think that's about how long it's been for them to actually start blooming. But they're starting to bloom one by one. And it's been beautiful to watch, to see each wildflower, each bloom is completely different from the one that bloomed the day before. And I can see like right now it is ready. It is ready to bloom and like in full force, ready to bloom. There's buds like all over it. And they're right at the point where you can see the very top of the bud, and you can, some of them you can see what color it's going to be. And then others, you have no idea until it just opens. And it's been so exciting for me to guess what the bloom is going to look like, and often being entirely wrong about what it's going to be. So there's one I can tell tomorrow is going to bloom and it's going to be purple. Actually, there's two of those. And yeah, I mean, the other ones, I don't have any idea what color they're going to be. It's just every day there's a new bloom and it's a new color and it's a new kind of flower. So this idea of turning nothing into something, these pots were just dirt. That's it. There was nothing else in them. And so watching it become, it looked like weeds for the past 6 weeks. It's just like become, they're really, really tall. And I was thinking, oh, the neighbors probably think that I've really let my garden go this year, that I'm just growing weeds. But now they're starting to bloom, and it's really become quite a great metaphor for me in terms of recovery, whether it is from alcoholism or stroke recovery. Right now, I feel like over the past year, I've been starting my life over in a sense, discovering what I love, growing things from seeds, what I can do, what I don't like to do. I'm trying things, and some things I'm like, man, I'm not really into that. And what I can't do, what's too much for me. And so I feel like I'm figuring out how to build something new from all of this. Something, none of this existed 3 years ago. I was living a completely different life. I was working full time. I was obsessed about work. I was working more than 8 hours a day. I was working on the weekends. I remember getting up on Saturday mornings. That was my time to put together my marketing report for executives. And that took me about an hour to do. And I loved it. I loved working that hard. I loved obsessing about work. I just did. That was what interested me. It was a way for me to be very creative. It was a way for me to really watch the company grow by, hopefully I'm making some sort of impact on it. And today I don't have that. I was devastated when I had to walk away from my job, because it was all I knew. That was my way of life. And what's happening right now, this podcast didn't exist a year ago. I just reached out to my brother and said, can you create a Spotify account for me? That was it. That's how this all started. And this is my new way of life. And I'm still trying to figure this out. After a year of this, I feel like I'm slowly letting go of some of the fears that I've had and the discomfort. But I'm like reflecting, how did I get here? How did I get to the point where I'm starting to let go of some of the fears and discomfort? Like, how do how did I build something from what felt like nothing in recovery? And what exactly do I mean by nothing? So when I talk about nothing, I'm referring to that what's on the inside, those feelings of emptiness. It's a feeling that I had nothing on the inside, that I was lost, that I didn't know what to do, that I didn't know where to start. That was my nothing. And it's similar to metaphorically speaking, standing in the middle of a field, um, ready to cultivate it into something beautiful and fruitful. And in recovery, this can happen when we first get sober, or after a significant life change, like a stroke. And I just happen to be the lucky winner of both of these things. And the future has felt uncertain for me in a very, very big way, a couple times so far in my life, these two times significantly, and not knowing, feeling like I'm empty-handed and not knowing what to do next, what steps to take. I think about the beginning of this year and being faced with walking away from work, asking my brother to start the podcast, but medically, on the medical side, not knowing, what do I do? Like, I didn't know if I had another stroke. I didn't know what was happening. So I also didn't have any idea where to start. And I've had a lot of false starts. Uh, the only way that I could figure out my path is for me to just try, was for me to just get uncomfortable. And so starting from that nothing, in both situations, in sobriety and in stroke recovery, really started with acknowledging that I couldn't do anything on my own. Like I tried it my way. In both situations, I tried it my way. I tried to go back to work after my stroke, and my life became unmanageable. The pain was debilitating. I mean, I never, I've heard people say the pain is debilitating, but now I know what that feels like, that I truly could not function. I could not use my eyes because of the extreme pain in my head, and it was constant pain. Um, in the same in the same way, in sobriety, when I started sobriety, the pain in my heart, in my soul, was unmanageable. Um, the depression, the anxiety, it was unbearable. It was absolutely unbearable. And without help, I had nothing. Um, I didn't have any answers, any. And I needed to explore and experiment, and over time find out what worked for me. So this zucchini that I grew last year was just an insignificant little experiment of mine, but it really is something that has stuck with me. It represents something to me that has stuck with me. The plant is long gone, and now the wildflowers are in that pot. But it really became representative of being able to nurture something and to watch it grow into something that nourishes me. And this year, growing herbs and wildflowers has continued to deepen this lesson for me. You know, like each bloom is a surprise. And all I have to do is do what I know, which is water them, give them some sunlight, and I actually feed them once a month too. And I just do what I know, and I don't know what's going to happen. I've never done it before. I've never grown wildflowers before, but they are a reminder that beautiful things can come from unexpected places. You know, these pots, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 pots with all these wildflowers in them, and they looked very ugly over the past month. They've looked really ugly. But I just kept taking care of them. And now I am getting, I'm getting the rewards from that. And in recovery, we have that same opportunity to discover and create and try things. Just do what we know how to do. I didn't know what doctors I needed to go to. I didn't know the first thing about how to manage my recovery. I just did what I know how to do, what I've learned how to do from sobriety, what I've learned how to do in my career. And it's been a journey of trial and error. And just like planting the seeds, I just try things and see what flourishes. And just like I've been guessing what each wildflower might look like and being entirely wrong, I have had some preconceptions about what recovery should look like. And but it's been very different than what I what I expected, which is probably good. It's probably good that it's not turning out the way that I expected, because every night before I go to bed, I say, "Thy will be done, not mine." I thank God for the willingness to recover. And then I say, "Thy will be done, not mine," because I'm just doing what I know how to do. And my life is blooming. I don't know what color or how big these blooms are, but something is happening in a good way in my life. And I'm just going to keep doing what I know how to do. So building something from nothing, I broke it into a few steps to see like how this has come about for me. And the first part is definitely letting go of my fear and discomfort. That fear was holding me back. And I mean that in so many ways. Like, um, I was not even moving my eyes for fear that I was going to hurt my head even worse. And this was after I started getting the medication that I needed for these migraines. I still have headaches and pains in my eyes and in my head, um, which leads me to still be a bit fearful sometimes because I want to be really careful that I don't trigger something even worse, which is feels like what I did a year ago. So, letting go of the fear and discomfort is not easy, and it takes time and it takes practice, and it takes help from these medical professionals, really. Um, I've had to embrace vulnerability and be open to trying new things. For the past year, I have tried so many new things, even when I felt uncertain about it. I mean, you guys know that I've been trying this vestibular therapy and recently feeling a bit more uncertain about it. But more than ever before in my life, I've needed to surrender and, just keep acknowledging that I can't control some things. And over the past 3 years, most of this has been just completely out of my control. But I did keep saying the serenity prayer, and I keep reminding myself of what I can control and what I can't. That's the wisdom to know the difference. And I pray for that wisdom. Next is to be willing to experiment. So in my garden, not every every seed that I plant is going to grow. Um, Not some of them are growing and then they start dying, because I'm not quite like, am I giving them too much sun? I don't know. Am I giving them not enough water? I don't know. I'm just continuing to do what I can. And when I see some that get dried up, I cut those off. I was cutting a red pepper last week for dinner, and I thought, I'm going to soak these seeds overnight in water and then plant them and see what happens. And wouldn't you know it, that now I have about a dozen pepper plants growing in a pot in my front yard. And so similarly in recovery, not everything we do is going to grow. Not everything is going to be successful, but it's worth trying to see if it brings me closer to understanding what works for me. And if I'm lucky, I hit the nail on the head, like in the beginning of vestibular therapy, I'm like, this is it. I am in the right place. I'm finally in the right place. She understands me. She understands what my problems are. And I still believe that. I still believe that if anybody understands what I'm going through, it's my vestibular therapist. I'm hoping to add a couple more people to Rachel's team with this new neurologist, stroke specialist that I'm going to see in August, and then a neuro-otologist in September. But these are really just more examples of planting, planting a seed and see if it grows or not, and just do what I know how to do. And what I know how to do is make the appointment, make sure I keep all my records straight, all my medical records straight. I just got all of my medical records from Reston Hospital from 3 years ago when I had my stroke, including the MRI CDs that when they took the MRIs and the CT scans when I was in the ER and stuff. So that's what I know how to do. And I'm pretty proud of myself actually for getting all of that stuff, because I'm really going to be able to give this information, give like all 5 of my MRIs to this stroke specialist, and she can compare them all and let me know, like, when did my mini strokes happen and all of that stuff. And maybe we'll get some answers and I can start moving on with my life. So, but that leads me to the next aspect, which is patience. So just like the wildflowers don't bloom overnight, and I've been waiting 6 weeks for my first bloom, it is a gradual process. Recovery is, and sobriety was the same way. It took me, I did not do all 12 steps in 1 year. I think I got to maybe step 5 in a year. I'm not quite sure how far I got, but I wasn't nearly all 12 steps in a year. Because I really wanted to have it be a gradual process and take the time. I mean, some of the stuff I was procrastinating, like step 4. But that's okay. Like, be gentle with ourselves and give ourselves the time to grow and adapt. And this is what I'm trying to do this year in stroke recovery, is giving myself the room to adapt. And each small step forward is progress, even if it doesn't feel like it at the moment. You may notice that I'm in a different location. I'm actually in the same room that I was before, but I did some redecorating. So I'm at my desk now, and I used to be on my couch, and I moved things around. I moved my couch into my bedroom and all kinds of stuff. And I wanted to set up an environment that was a little more conducive for turning this stuff I'm doing into a job. So I put my office back into the form of an office, and we'll just see. It's giving me good vibes. So we'll see. There's also a mirror back there, so you can see what's happening behind the scenes. That is literally behind the scenes over there. For those of you who are watching the video, you can see that I actually have on sweatpants, even though I'm duded up on the top. Okay. And let's see, next we need to, of course, celebrate our successes, no matter how small they are. So I'm telling you, each wildflower that blooms in those pots is a tiny little celebration. I'm not kidding, because it represents turning nothing into something. Like, it represents life and growth and what is possible. I mean, it's fascinating. Here I go. It is fascinating to me that there are things that don't exist in this world at all, and then they exist. I don't know. You can call me crazy. I'm fine with that. But with each bloom, I'm actually going up and I am touching it. I've talked to you about getting our senses involved in what's going on around us, and I'm touching it, and I'm looking at the greenery that bloom came out of, and I'm trying to actually learn just by looking what the leaves looked like on the plant that bloomed, so that I can be better at predicting which blooms are going to be coming and how many of these am I going to have, how many purples, how many yellows, and how many whites. I have tons of the whites were the first ones to bloom, and they're just like peppered all over. It's like baby's breath. It's so pretty. And in recovery, all of these tiny little achievements, whether it's a day of sobriety, whether it's a successful therapy session, whether it's another hobby, another quilt that I've made, or a new hobby I've learned how to do, a basket that I've woven. All of these things are worth acknowledging and celebrating, and looking at which effort is giving me the most value in this life that I'm living right now. What is giving me the most progress towards where I want to go, enjoying my life, I'm still a little obsessed about figuring out how I'm going to make money, but that's just me. That's like I think that's in my blood. So how do we build something from nothing in recovery? And that's what I really wanted to try to articulate here. So being open to new experiences, letting go of fears, and being willing to be uncomfortable, experimenting, being patient, tons of freaking patience, and celebrating successes. And you don't know how long it's going to take to bloom. When I first planted those seeds outside, I was like, oh yeah, 2 weeks and we're gonna be seeing some blooming, and that is not what happened. I've been very patient, and I've been waiting, and I've been watering, and I've been sitting, and I've been staring, and I've been touching, and they're starting to bloom now. So in recovery, recognizing that we have within us what it takes to create and nurture something or nothing into something that's beautiful, turning something into growing something when it started out feeling like nothing. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Recovery Daily podcast and reach out to me if you need support, or you want to discuss any topics, or have suggestions for future episodes. You can reach me on social media, or you can email me at rachel@recoverydailypodcast.com. I will talk to you tomorrow.